AI is moving so fast that 1 year is one lifetime. So the one advice I would give to a lot of small business owners at this point is choose your horse. Build your AI foundation on one platform or the other.
I think people they need to kind of hire people that like you that can help them on the scary side of it. Failing quickly is so important for people when it comes to building wealth or building a successful business.
The one question that most people struggle to answer is, who is your ideal client?
That people think that because you're using AI, that I'm going to have to give all this personal information, and that's not true even at all.
AI uses data and information that is uploaded to it, training, right? It's trained on data. So one question I ask when I ask anyone is, who owns AI in your company? Who owns the results? Who tells people what they can and can't do with AI inside their company? And most CEOs look at me cross-eyed like, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
If you could go back and give your younger self advice, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be financial advice. Welcome to today's PlanAssist Podcast. I'm Tim Clifford, and I'm the host for PlanAssist. And what we do here is try to help people make better financial decisions using first principles when it comes to maintaining and growing your wealth. And we do it around three questions. We want you to be able to answer yes to these three questions. Number one is your lifestyle aligned with your income? Is your income diversified and resilient? And then the third one is are you making progress on the first two? Those are basically the questions. Now, we're focusing on these podcasts on small businesses to leaders, but those are the same exact questions we need to ask as business owners as well. Rather, are we making progress on those two kind of core questions? And today I am super excited to have on the call Randall Mauldin. He's the founder of Scale Hound AI and retired United States Marine leader. He works and focuses on AI decision ownerships, executive accountability, and a central AI governance. He helps CEOs and operations leader identify where AI is already influencing decisions inside their organization, where ownership is missing, and how leaders can create clear, controlled scale using AI. His core mission is simple. AI can influence decisions, but leadership still matters and it's still important. So today, that's basically what we're going to discuss as small business owners is how do we get better using AI, and Randy's going to help us with that conversation. So thank you and welcome today, Randy.
I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you and just share what we know about AI. It's an up-and-coming technology, very moving rapidly, faster than most of us can even comprehend. And part of what we'll talk about today is that most people don't realize AI is already inside your business, influencing decisions, influencing analysis, influencing a bunch of things, and nobody has control. So we'll talk about
awesome. Okay, so before we get into the AI conversation in small business, as something that I kind of do from a consistent perspective is I always ask each guest the same question to start off with. If you could go back and give your younger self advice, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be financial advice.
That's a great question. I was thinking about how would I answer that, my younger self, and it really is like one, it's going to be okay, because every time we go through a crisis, it's like this is the end of the world, but then you get through it and you're better on the other side. And then the other one I say is, just don't have regrets. If you have a thought, you have a goal, you have an idea that you want to execute, take action on it. So many people have thoughts and ideas and end up having regrets because they don't take action on them. Not because they can't, it's just that for some reason they don't follow through or even attempt to try, and I've lived my life with, I would say, successful failure. I fail a lot, often, quickly, and move quickly on to something else so I can quickly understand what's not working and better focus on what is working and just keep capitalizing on that and moving forward and keep moving forward. So yeah, definitely those will be the two areas. Like, hey, it's going to be okay, and don't take action. Don't worry about what's going to happen. Just take action and see what will happen.
That is great advice. And the failing quickly is so important for people to understand when it comes to building wealth or building a successful business. Being clear on, what you're trying to do and then being open to failing is just maybe
Mhm.
one of the most important principles someone follows. I mean, a lot of people look at people and they look how successful they are. They don't realize they just fail 5 times more
Right.
often than the other person.
That's absolutely correct. We fail quickly and tie it into AI. How is that with AI, you can do multiple iterations faster than you could ever do before. You can have an idea, test an idea, throw it on social media, see if it's going to work or if it has any idea, traction or interest from the group. If not, within hours, in minutes even, you can find a new idea and try something else. Part of where I am today with Scale Hound AI is just a series of iterations and reps and learning and learning and learning and just keep going. And as soon as I think I've got it figured out, this is what AI is going to do and how it's going to change the world, AI changes.
Yeah.
And we have a new platform and a new capability, and it just goes a whole nother level. So that's part of how we developed the AI activating operating system is that we create a structure that allows AI to operate safely and securely. And when we talk about AI and what it does and how it can affect your business, where it has infiltrated into your business and you don't know it yet, is to put guardrails on that technology so you can use it safely and you don't expose your data. There's a lot of information out there that we can gather now as salespeople, as business owners on our market, on targets, meaning people we want to sell to. You can get a lot of detail that you couldn't get before without paying somebody a lot of money. Now you can get it in a matter of 5-10 minutes when you use a deep research prompt on one of the OpenAI platforms to look at. So
So what size business do you work with? Kind of give me before we get into kind of the details in it, because we can. And I'm pretty adept and and where you. I don't use it out anywhere near as much as you do, but I'm very curious about it and spent some energy and some time around it. So I'll be curious to kind of see what I think is just crazy or what I think is kind of going down the right direction. But before we do that, let's spend a few minutes on for utilizing your services. What would be the right size company? What would be the typical profile?
well, I'll tell you who we have engagements with, and then that'll kind of give you an idea of the diversity that we work with. We've worked with companies that are usually have a solopreneur, owner operator, with a team of maybe 5 to 10, onwards up to organizations of 50 to 100 employees.
Okay.
An ideal fit from a investment point of view. In other words, is this worth the investment? You're looking 50 to 200 employees makes it worthwhile because that's when you really see the value, the productivity value, because you can multiply that across so many people. If we're working with a solopreneur, a lot of times what they're doing is that they have so many tasks on their plate that they don't have time to do anything to include enjoying life. So by bringing in AI, we can automate a lot of things that give them their time back. So they can spend more time selling and talking to people, less time doing administrative type tasks. So the best way to start is really just let's have a conversation. 15 minutes. I understand your AI, or your situation where I think AI could help, or if AI is just not worth it, because you're going to spend time or money. Either you're going to spend time learning or you're going to spend money letting somebody else do it for you. Right. So it's really just having a conversation to understand the use case. And these are recent examples. I had
Yeah.
a small business where it was really a lead intake problem. What does that mean? Is that they're answering the phone, answering the emails, and they're doing all these things. They are the only person answering the phone. They're the only person responding to emails, to the point of they have to go through a lot of qualification before they even know if it's going to be a client worth their time as far as a business. Well, AI can handle a bunch of that. They can look at the client's profile, they can gather information, they can qualify the client. They can ask the client questions via email, via text messaging, or via voice chat, or via voice phone. It can do all that. So you can pre-qualify a client. So as a solopreneur, you're not spending, 3 hours a day qualifying people. Instead, you're spending 3 hour a day talking to qualified leads.
And clients
So
don't know. You could set it
yeah.
up like you call me, I'm a financial advisor, and you
Mhm.
say, hey, Tim, I'm thinking about doing advice. We do a 15, 20-minute discovery call. We'll call them. I don't know what everyone calls them, but I intro discovery call. I ask you a few questions. I say, here's what I'm going to do, Randy. I'm going to send you a few series of questions to help us kind of go down the right path. And
Mhm.
then we'll schedule a call in a week or so. And throughout this week, I'm going to send you some emails that and you just respond, and then I can kind of gather that information. So when we get
Right.
ready to talk next week, I have a lot better sense of kind of what your concerns are, what your focus is, right? Now, and then the
Exactly.
client that has no idea that I just handed you off to an AI.
Correct. If you let's just take that step one back, where they went to your website, or they called your phone,
Uh-huh.
and you said, and it sounds like an AI receptionist, because it's more accepted today than it was just a few months ago, and say, hey, got you on the schedule. Before we talk, we're going to have to go through a series of questions. We'll send you these over an email over the next few days. So you haven't talked to anybody yet. It's been completely handled by AI, and the AI sounds really good today. I mean, it sounds like a young, enthusiastic receptionist who is happy to be at work and just asking questions. And even when somebody says, "Well, are you an AI agent?" it will respond in a happy, positive manner. Absolutely. you know, just like that. Well, absolutely, I'm an AI agent, and we're helping you get where you want to go. What else can I help you with today? And it'll respond that naturally, and it'll sound seamless.
So to your point, like as a financial advisor, maybe for qualifying, here's the piece that kind of people new in financial advisor business or they don't realize is that I don't really need a lot of personal information to qualify you. I
Hmm.
don't, I need none. What am I talking about? I don't need a lot. I need almost a zero, right? If I just get kind of general who you are, that none of it is private or personal information. If someone calls me and says, my name is Joe and I'm getting ready to retire, I work at Martin Marietta, and I just want to introduce myself. Joe's gave me your name. That's enough for me to say, okay, it's worth an introduction call.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
do you mean so people think
exactly.
that people think that because you're using AI that I'm going to have to give all this personal information, and that's not true even at all.
Correct. Absolutely correct. But you know what you need to qualify a
Exactly.
client, and that's where you can program AI, or we call it training AI, to respond the way you want it to respond. And being in the financial industry, compliance is a big issue of yours.
Sure.
We've talked to several financial advisors, and compliance is their number one concern, because a lot of times it's dictated to what they can and can't do as far as marketing and using these types of tools. So that's where you want to make sure it trains properly with the right documentation, the right rules, and you test it and you make sure it's not going to put you in a compliance issue and before you ever launch it. And you can do all of that using AI. Again, multiple iterations, testing it, working it until it sounds 100% perfect, and then you launch it. And you give it rules on what it can and cannot do. Like, you can ask their name, you can ask them where the referral source is, you can ask them, are they, looking for a financial advisor? Yes or no. You cannot ask them about their birthday, age, social security number.
You
You
got
can
it.
you can tell them what they can't do, and so the AI will never ask those questions because you programmed that into the platform.
I mean, as a financial advisor, just to give you an idea how simple it is if someone says they have a financial advisor, that means I probably want to talk to them,
Hmm.
right? Because they've already made a decision to use professionals, right? Like I don't need a whole lot more info than if you've used an advisor. If someone
Hmm.
says I've never used an advisor, well, now it's 50-50, right? Because people who are do-it-yourselfers, they typically stay do-it-yourselfers.
Exactly.
Right. So,
Absolutely.
so as an example, there are these cues that clients give us in every business. I'm using financial services, but in
Hmm.
reality, it exists everywhere, right? I mean,
Right.
every single business, if someone will slow down and take a breath, they can identify that. And then going back to the AI, because we're just hitting on one piece of it. So this is so fun and interesting to me. So the piece that people miss well, actually, there's two things. So I'll talk to people and they'll say, I use AI. Okay. And I'll say, really? I said, so tell me about it. And I get in a conversation. The continuum of using AI say it's a scale of 1 to 10. If
Hmm.
they say I use AI, they might be a 1 or 2. So the answer may be, yes, you're using it, but you're not really using it, right? I mean, I'm using it for a few emails, letters, maybe a little bit around on my website on the edges, but they're not in any way using it at any level that they need to, and they don't even understand that they're not using it. They kind of lie to themselves that I'm using it,
Right.
right? I mean, that's common. And then the second thing that I find happen, and then you can comment on this is like let's use the phone as an example, right? We want AI to answer the phone, right? Which makes our life much more productive. They'll say, I don't want an AI answer my phone. It'll send all my clients away. I said, that's fine. I said, then just start with having the AI answer the phone when your receptionist is on lunch or
Right.
at night when the reception isn't there. Someone then having the AI answer the phone versus no one answering the phone is certainly better than just taped, leave your name and number.
Right. So there's two parts of that conversation that
Exactly.
we were just talking about.
I
One,
can,
where's my client? Is phone even an option? Do I care? Or are they on social media? Or do they go to my website? Where will I interact with them most? Right. So there you can train. There's AI agents that work on social media platforms that can qualify a lead. There's AI agents that will work on your website that can run people through a series of questions, name, email, phone number. What are you looking for? Can we help you? And it can answer all your frequently asked questions right there in the chat. And then possibly the phone. And that, are you getting phone calls? So then from a marketing point of view, do you track your phone calls? Do you know how many phone calls you get per day? Do you know these things to know? And what I'm getting to is a business use case
and how many people
on
know
which
those answers when you sit down with them? If you're
exactly.
looking at a small business, is it even 50%?
Probably not. No, no. Most people don't. The one question that most people struggle to answer is, who is your ideal client, right?
No question.
Who, who's your ideal client? Well, I'll help anyone. True, I'm sure you will help anyone, but some people are more open to your help, your specific help, whatever you offer, than somebody else. So who would that person be? Right? Who would you want to write you a check today versus somebody who's just going to talk to you and learn more about it? And that's something I've had to struggle with in AI. There's a lot of curious people about AI that will never write a check. They just want to learn, which is great. And that's why I'm happy to talk to anybody about AI. Like, I'll talk all day long. I'll give you the answers to the test, but you won't take action. That goes back to what I talked about earlier. It's
Oh,
like, how
you're
many
so
people,
right.
here's
So
AI,
right.
here's what it can do, here's the platform you can use, here's how much it costs. Just go right here, log in. I'm out of it. Good luck, have fun. And they'll never do it.
Right.
you know, and they'll never ever do it. So yeah.
So I actually have 5 or 6 really good friends that have these, what I would call really successful business, million, 2 million, $3 million businesses. Okay. And I'm real active in AI. So I'm like a massive adopter of AI where I can because I'm an advisor. So I have a lot of compliance limitations. Right. But also as an investor. So I'm kind of go through the process. And here's the funny thing about this process that I try to help these small businesses is what they don't understand is they think AI is an event. And I keep explaining to them, you don't understand. Your competition is adopting it, but it's all under the surface. You don't see it. You're not seeing what's happening. And what's going to happen is you're going to wake up in 2 years and you're not going to be competitive based on price, marketing, messaging, et cetera, because you didn't spend 2 years adopting AI. It's a process that you've got to spend the time, the money, and the energy over a couple year process. I mean, you'll learn fast, but it's still not an event.
Well, one of the things because you just talked about 1 to 2 years, and when I hear someone discuss AI in terms of years, I have to giggle because AI is moving so fast that 1 year is one lifetime. That's how fast it's moving. Think about AI. ChatGPT last year alone in 2025 upgraded 5 different times. And each time it upgraded, it exponentially improved. Not a little bit, it went to a whole nother level. So if you didn't start last January, you're already 6 years behind based on how life
Oh, what a
used to
good
be before
explanation.
AI, right? So you have to start using it. And let's look at it from a different point of view. How much of your information is available to AI? Now we're doing a training here on June 24th at Serendipity Labs called AI Voodoo. It's one of my favorite classes to teach.
And
The
where's it
reason
at
I
specifically? So let's make sure if people are listening
Yeah.
here.
Serendipity Labs, June 24th, 2026. I'm not sure when this will post. So, but it's on Eventbrite, so people can find it there. Just look up AI Voodoo. AI, spell AI.
Yeah.
Voodoo, VOODOO, right? Voodoo. And the whole purpose of this class is to show how much information you can gather about a person you want to talk to, their public information, their business information, their website information, and then you start the voodoo part where you start to use certain prompts to get insight into their decision making process. insight into how they view the world based on how they show up online. Because if you think about it, when you go to your LinkedIn profile, the information you put there is based on what you think you should put there. So whether you give a long description or a short description says a lot about your personality. Facebook, one of my good friends, the trick he adds to this process is he goes to Facebook and looks at their how they show up on Facebook, what they share, what they talk about, who they're interacting with. And then you start to see a psychodemographic process profile that you can use when you talk to that person to be able to present information in a way that they best receive information. So then you show up to the conversation ready to go versus spending 10, 20 minutes trying to build rapport. You can show up knowing what to talk about to build rapport, right? So this is
Without
it's
oversharing that freaks them out, right? Like I see you have three kids and live at 1-3 Main. You talk about, I see you like to ride bikes.
oh more even it'll freak them out. Don't worry, it scares the bejeebus out of people because then you say, okay, how what do I need to say to this person? I've used this in several sales processes where I will be let's say stuck in a sales conversation. I can't get past a certain point. I'll pull into AI and I'll use a specific prompt to say, what do I need to do to have this person respond back to me? Give me an answer. Tell me no. What do I need to say? And it'll use these exact words. Okay. Boom. And sure enough, bam, they respond right away. And we do this in the class. We talk about how to set up what we call a guru, a profile analyzer, how to gather the information, how to put it all together, and then use it in a way. And again, it's all publicly, we call it open source competitive intelligence to find information about folks.
Is the class Zoom or do you have to go live? Go to
Come
the,
to come to Serendipity Labs. It'll be a good time. We got space for 20 people. We try to do it online. I've tried to do it online before, but people aren't paying attention. They're doing
what
five
city is
different things.
Serendipity Lab in? I'm not sure.
Orlando, downtown Orlando,
Downtown?
Serendipity
Okay.
Labs. It's
Okay.
a it's you can it's right downtown. They have this is a an open workspace for people to
Oh, I
come.
think I've been
Yeah,
there for some presentations.
probably. Yeah,
I can't remember what I went to here a while back. I know exactly where you're talking about.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. And there's a little bit of cost just because we got to
Well,
cover the
yeah, you
bills
got
a
to
little
rent the
bit.
space and all that, but it was
Yeah,
really inexpensive. When you say a little
yeah,
bit of a cost, I think I paid $20 or something, 25
yeah.
bucks.
It's something like so. It's again, it's on Eventbrite. People can find the
Okay.
details and do all that there. But it's a great fun class, and it shows us two things. Going back to what we were talking about before, why does a business need to adopt AI now? One, it shows you information you can use, gather to help your business grow, find better markets, find targets, and make sales. It also exposes to you the amount of information you're putting out there that we can find, which then brings us back to what we do at Scale Hound AI, which is governance and security. We secure your information or create an infrastructure that allows you to use information that will not be exposed to the larger AI models. ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, all these other platforms, Gemini, they are public open source information. So AI, LLMs, large language models, which means when you upload information to these models, that information becomes part of the larger data lake. And the way to think of a data lake is it's a lake full of fish. The fish are elements of data. And as soon as you put your fish into the lake, you can never get that same exact fish back, nor can you stop anyone else from catching that fish. And I, as a fisherman or as an AI prompt expert, if I know how to ask questions, I can catch your fish. I can catch your data. I can use your data against you. So, as a small business owner, you have employees who you've hired that want to do great work for you. Do you have an AI policy that tells them what they can and cannot, more importantly, cannot use AI for? If you take a customer list and you upload it to ChatGPT, now I can find that customer list. I can pull it down, I can scrape it, and I can use it, and I can go after it. So if you said, hey, Randy, I want to target this specific financial advisor who's in my area and is a competitor, and I just want to be competitive with that person. What do I need to know? I just need a name and a company. And then I'll hand you a 50-page report that tells you exactly how they go to market, who their ideal clients are, and maybe even a list of clients because somebody in that company has uploaded a customer list or started using AI to do analysis, to do things on behalf of the company without any security or any lockdown guardrails at all. And the reason I say this, and I can say it confidently, It's because the one question I ask when I ask anyone is who owns AI in your company? Who owns the results? Who tells people what they can and can't do inside with AI inside their company? And most CEOs look at me cross-eyed like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? We don't use AI. I said, okay, open your email, look to the upper right-hand corner and see a little golden star or a rainbow or something there. And the next time you read an email, look somewhere on the screen, it's going to have a suggested reply. That suggested reply is based on AI reading all your emails, knowing how you answer emails, and knowing that you're using it, right? And so it's learning your organization, it's learning all these things. And so you have to understand that. And then you start to put in guardrails. Do you have the right license that will limit that information to going to the public LLM? Have you limited exposure within your company? Have you stopped the HR folks from being able to see, or the operations folks from being able to see who's getting paid what over in HR, right? Or finance or documents, all these different things. If you haven't set those policies up, then you're really exposed because AI just goes wherever it can. More importantly, it'll go anywhere except for where you tell it not to go. And if you don't give it rules, if you say, don't go in this room, don't fish in this lake, it will go into that room. It'll fish in that lake to find answers because it wants to help you. It tries to help you. It tries to give you the information you're looking for. Does that make sense?
Totally. It's interesting.
It's scary. Yeah, it's really scary.
It is scary, but at the same time, I think people have to they need to kind of hire people that like you that can help them on the scary side of it. But on the positive side of it, I'm in the how do you make money, right? I've spent my whole life helping rich people stay rich, right? So my whole life is money, right? And people around me get sick and tired of hearing it, but I don't care because it's just what I do and kind of how I do it, right? So the one big challenge that humans in general have, just to kind of go 100,000 feet and come back down to AI, is they have marriage problems, they have addiction problems, and they have financial problems. And all those problems are connected. They'll have a tendency to try to connect those to, fix one problem, et cetera. But I'm absolutely convinced those problems are all wired together. The one part that I try to help people with is the one bucket of those three is the financial problems. And I can't
Mhm.
tell you how many small business owners over the years that I sat down with that my heart gets broken on because though they've created a job, they haven't created a business, right? They're making okay money or they're making actually good money. But one of the challenges that I try to help in at least the clients of mine is you're going to have to get really disciplined in this process. And I've said it for 30 years, right? I mean, and discipline means like if you're running a business, as you know, when you work for a corporation, like when you were in the army, we didn't have to be good at a lot of stuff. We had to be expert in we didn't even have to be expert. We had to be good in one thing, working for a
Mhm.
Fortune 500 company, right? And then everything else we didn't have to do. Running a small business, we actually have to be good in 10 or 12 things and
Right.
expert in one, right? If we're
Hmm.
going to survive. And the whole reason I went down this long black thing is AI is going to start exposing that, right? I mean, like if you're running a business, a window cleaning business, pre-AI, you could get away with being relatively undisciplined in running that window cleaning business and still actually make a living, at least make a job, right?
Hmm.
If you fast forward 3, 4 years, that window business is going to actually be at risk if you're not using AI. If you're not figuring out how to be more productive, how to get your filings done, how to get your taxes done, how to keep your books, if you're not using it, someone else will be. And that's my point about AI. So to your point, there's a really scary part of it that we have to deal with. It goes back to that deal with what's out there, but we also have to get the piece. We also have to adopt the piece that helps us be more productive. Do you agree with that?
Hmm. Well, there's a couple thoughts in that conversation. In that, one of the things that you brought up is that if we don't take action today, 3 or 4 years from now, we'll be behind. The statistics show us that there's not a lot of people taking action right now. That even though AI has been productive, popular, and more published in the last 3 years, and you may even see this on the investment side, is that adoption is the big piece missing.
What percent
People,
of adoption? Do you know any numbers? Or you hear any numbers, guesstimates?
I don't want to misspeak because it's changing rapidly, but from what reports I've seen on the data centers where everyone's investing is they're stopping building them because people aren't adopting the technology fast enough. They're building all these data centers in anticipation of the world adopting AI to replace all these employees and people. And the fact is that businesses aren't adopting it.
And I'll give you a stat that proves that.
Okay.
It's if you look at Tesla, the number of people that adopt full self-driving is 16%. 16%
Hmm.
of people that buy a Tesla use FSD. I'm like, are you kidding me? That is nutty. That's like, well, what would you have a Tesla for if you don't have
Right.
FSD? It's just the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life, right? And
Right.
I'm like, but yet only 16% adopt it. So to your point, that like is in your face. People are
Right.
not adopting it.
And so that creates an opportunity for those that are willing to adopt it and leverage it and use it the way you've described, which is using AI to get their time back to focus on the things that really make them money and spend less time on the things that need to get done but don't actually produce revenue at the end of the day, right?
Right.
The taxes, the bookkeeping, the paperwork, even replying to emails, right? How many days just using Copilot's one of the platforms we prefer. Come in from a long weekend, you got 1,000 emails. Well, with Copilot, you can process that in about 10 minutes. you know, it's done, it's out the door. So you can then get back to calling people, talking to people, going to networking events because you don't have to do administrative work or those types of things. So that speaks to your point. Small businesses that adopt it and try to leverage it, they're going to be way ahead of the curve. But at the same time, those that don't, they still have time, but not much time. And why do
Correct.
I say that? In it that AI, when you look at it from a global standpoint, where is AI being adopted and embraced and leveraged to the maximum potential, and where is it being ignored, minimized, and pushed away? If you look into Asia, they love AI, they're using AI, they're leveraging it, they're trying to get the most they can from it. Everyone, meaning the entire population, thinks AI is good. You look to Europe, it's about 50-50, but still they accept it and they try to leverage it. You look at the United States, it's much, much less than that, right? People just
Interesting.
are not
Yeah.
adopting it. And the demographics that I personally see, individuals under the age of 25 and creative are adamantly against AI, adamantly against it.
Yep. I
So what does
agree with
that
that
mean?
number.
Employers are trying to hire people that know how to use AI. They think young people are those people. The reality is, young people see AI as a threat to their ability to make a living. So
Yes.
they're refusing to play.
And there was a
Colleges,
graduation event where all of them booed when someone
yeah,
mentioned AI.
exactly. Right. So, now you've got a cultural thing, right? A cultural thing that's going to have to come into play to get people to embrace AI and start leveraging this technology. And it's like, okay, well, can we fight it hard enough to where it'll just go away? No. It's here. It's not going anywhere. People are using it. Businesses are using it. Everyone's using it. People are using it when they are adamantly against it. But then when they go on social media, guess what? It's right there. They say I hate AI, but then they're spending all day, scrolling on AI on Instagram or whatever. Well, who's feeding them the information they're scrolling? AI. AI is using the information that the data is collecting from those scrolls to advertise to where they then spend money on that. And so instead of embracing the technology and learning how to leverage it and use it, they're ignoring it. And then one day they'll wake up, as you talked about in the beginning, and now it's here. Now what? Now what do I do? Now I'm playing catch up. But catch up is meaning lifetimes, right? Catch up. If you don't start today, trying to catch up next week or next month, you're still a lifetime behind. Does
Because of
that
how
make sense?
fast it's moving.
It's moving
Well,
so fast.
so here's the analogy that I try to give people when I'm talking to them about AI. To me, this is, and I actually thought exactly about what you said, because like who's adopting it and who's actually part of this. And the group that's the most excited about AI are us, the older
Yeah.
group. It's that
Hmm.
50 to 60 to 70-year-old group, right? That's really, really like we're all in. We're like, how do we use this? This is exciting. And for a while, I couldn't figure out why is that. And I have a hypothesis, right? So I'm not saying I'm right. I just have an opinion about it. So what I think the reason is because we all live through the internet.
Hmm.
And we heard all the same stuff, right? This is the end of the world. It's going to take all these jobs. That this is going to collapse this, that it's all bad, right? I mean, like I was at an AI presentation and everything the guy said was just how the end of the world's coming with AI. And I literally stood up and I said, let me explain something. I said, I actually lived through the internet. I was at Charles Schwab during the internet boom, right? In the like 90 to 99. And I said, our IT people would say that. Charles Schwab's IT people in 1998 would say nothing's going to go to the internet. And I said, so if I took everything you just said about AI and I replaced AI with internet and fast put you back in the late 90s, I said, it would have been exact same noise. I said, literally.
Right.
And I said, I'm not even, you don't even paraphrase it for God's sakes. You're literally saying the exact same thing, right? Now, the big thing that I got into a debate with one of my friends about was he says, well, yeah, he goes, well, it took a while for the internet to work. And I said, but you have to remember something. In 1999, what we thought about the internet was aspirational. The internet actually did not work in 1999. People forget that. It really didn't work. We had 14.4 modems. We,
Right.
we
Oh
didn't
yeah.
have security. We didn't have, I mean, we had a vision of what the internet was going to become, but we actually didn't have the internet because the
Right.
infrastructure wasn't built out. So it took about 10 years for the infrastructure to catch up. And that's what I was explaining to this friend of mine. I said, with AI, it works. I said, it's not like, this isn't like a 14.4 modem. It already works.
Think about when it did not work 3 years ago when we started. Hallucinations, it made stuff up, it had
Oh,
bad
yeah, good
links,
point.
it created all this bad stuff. And in 3 years, it's to the place it is today, which is very proficient, efficient, and very good. And it's very helpful in 3 years. And you mentioned 1999, and 10 years later, it became productive.
Exactly. Good point.
AI, 3 years, now, 3 years later, it's productive. And it's exponentially, as I mentioned before, improving. So
Right.
what it is today, it leaps. For example, Claude, for example, is a really good platform right now. 4 months ago, ChatGPT was a better platform. Then Claude did some things, it made things improvements, and now it's a very, very good, useful, productive platform that's very useful. Just wait 2 months. ChatGPT will leap ahead of Claude. So Claude is here right now. It was here, now it's here. ChatGPT was here. Claude leaped it. Now, boom, it's going to go. And meanwhile, nobody talks about Copilot and Microsoft. And go back to the internet. When we started the internet, there was a browser called Netscape.
Yes.
Where is it today?
Gone.
Because Microsoft launched the Internet Explorer as its product and placed it on every single machine that it had software. Today, Microsoft owns 80% of the business application market. What are they doing? Installing Copilot on every single machine. They're not the loudest in the AI conversation, but I would say they're the most effective. They wait, they watch, they see what's great, not what's good, what's great, and then they implement it inside the Copilot infrastructure, which gives it a Microsoft boost, very productive, very stable, very secure, and secure within that infrastructure. And a couple of examples. We heard recently about Claude being a co-worker agent, right? To where it can do a lot of different tasks at one time. And there was a example of what they call Clawbot or Multibook. It was an agent that could be installed on your computer and would execute multiple tasks. And
And
it turned
steal
out to be
all
a
your information.
exactly. They didn't have the security figured out, right? Microsoft took that concept and they have a co-worker application inside Copilot that's safe and secure and works correctly with all the applications within Microsoft that operates in the same way using the Microsoft applications. I took an idea, great idea, not mature yet, brought it into Microsoft, put Microsoft behind it, made it mature, made it safe, made it secure, and said, here you go. And away we go.
And how
So
many and
people,
how many companies already use Outlook as an example, right? I mean, boom.
80%, 80% of businesses operate on a Microsoft platform.
Wow. Are there any statistics on when I was in Fortune? So I spent some time at Schwab and then H&R Block and then Ameriprise, and we were all on Outlook. I mean, we were all on Microsoft. Microsoft was the core platform. What I noticed since I've started my own kind of solo practice, which I would be what you described early in the conversation, almost everyone I know in solo is on Google. They're on Google Workspace, right? So do you have any kind of It's like the big guys are on Microsoft, which is where all the money's at, obviously. So if you're investing, if you're me and buying stocks, you want to pay attention to that. But all the smaller guys still seem to be on Google. And I do like Google. I mean, I have to say, I mean, I've been on both, but what's your opinion about that? Or do you even agree with what I said? Is it more just, I've just been kind of interested. Is that not true or true?
It's the truth in from an for instance is by doing like AI Voodoo or something like that type of classes. When you get the solopreneurs, they're mostly on Google or Google Workspace.
Okay.
Everything I say about Microsoft, you can say also about Google. The difference and the concern is that Google doesn't have the security that Microsoft has. And that information comes from cybersecurity guys that do this day in and day out. When you talk about Microsoft, they don't worry about it. When you talk about Google, they kind of say, I don't know.
And it
You
goes to
know,
settings, right? As an admin, I mean, it's probably not Google as a company. It's
correct.
probably more making sure you have your settings right.
Your settings right, that you don't share things. And then at the end of the day, and this is purely my personal opinion, open for correction for anyone that wants to add this. What is Google's business model at the end of the day? What do they sell?
Subscriptions. No, advertising.
Which is based on data.
Yeah.
So if you're building things on Google infrastructure, whether or not they can attribute that data specifically to you, right? Or they choose not to, but they could, right? They're still using that data to make recommendations, to make advertising, and to do all these other things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the other consideration when you look at the market right now is these large corporations, Google, Microsoft, and other ones, they're buying the market. They can give it away for free now because they know once you're on it, you're going to stay on it. So the one advice I would give to a lot of small business owners at this point is choose your horse. Build your AI foundation on one platform or the other. I'm not saying Google's better than Microsoft or Microsoft's better than Google, even though I prefer Microsoft because of the security. That's the main reason I like Microsoft. And it has a robust infrastructure behind it. So a lot of good things on the Microsoft side. But pick one. Pick one, learn it, master it, understand everything you can about it, because what you can do on Microsoft, you can do inside Google. Most people don't know there's what they call Google Gems, which are agents. They have AI Studio.Google, which is another place where you can go and build custom applications. Then one of the things I bring to the conversation, well, why aren't you using the AI you already own and you're already paying for, the Gemini that you're already paying for? It's already indexing your data. Have you thought about how to leverage that? Right? How do you use that information to be more productive in that information?
And I'm running up on our hour, and I want to appreciate your spending this time. So I want to spend a few minutes now to just shift gears in. What would be like the biggest, in your opinion, kind of the small businesses that you're working with, both in opportunity and challenge? And I know I'm giving you 10 minutes, so not very much time, but what do you think? Kind of, let's start with the biggest challenge. If I'm a small business and I'm just, whatever that business is doing $1 million or 1.5 million a year, what's kind of their biggest challenge in the next 12 months, and then hit on the biggest opportunities?
The biggest challenge I would offer to them is get control of AI inside your business. Have a policy. Tell your employees what they can and cannot do with AI. Start to see how then the opportunity is, how do I leverage this technology? What are the things I don't want to do? Can AI technology do that thing, whatever that thing may be? Answer phone calls, reply to emails, develop marketing campaigns, respond on social media, whatever the things I needed to do, then it can do that. So I can spend more time doing what I do best. I can talk to clients to close deals. I can, talk to networking, go to networking events I don't have time to go to right now. Whatever it is where you really make money, what do you make money on? Everything else, how can technology help me do those things?
Can it help me know what I make money on? Because a lot of small businesses do a lot of stuff, but they don't really know where they make their money.
Right. It can. Well, one of the things, we'll do in that open competitive intelligence, we do, open source competitive intelligence, is ask AI, look at the market, tell us what's going on. And see, here's the thing. The way these OpenAI platforms, Claude and ChatGPT work, because of that data lake I'm talking about, every day, 152 million users go onto these platforms and have over 3 billion messages in these platforms to where you can ask it, and I'll give away one of the prompts. It's just right, like tap into the collective discussion to tell me what is going on with market XYZ, whatever it is. And what it will do is go into the big data lake. You'll throw in your lure, which is your prompt, and it'll go find, and whatever that lure attracts, that fish, it'll take it and it'll start to put it all together for you. And imagine 152 million people asking it questions, interacting with it every single day can give you a very good read on what people are actually looking for, what questions they're actually looking for. And one of the ways, and this will be the way I developed AI Voodoo, is I was watching a video and it was about the dating, and a man went on there and said, tapping into the collective discussion, tell me what women really think about men. And just imagine 150, we'll say 75 million women are going in there every day talking to AI about what they want men to do and how to do this and how to do that, why they, complaining, whatever they're doing, talking about good things, bad things, everything else. And then the AI says, well, this is what we see. And it just tells you what people are saying. And so that's the same way you can use it with market research. Going back to your original questions, how can it help me make money? Like a landscaper, ask AI, what is the most profitable service I can offer?
And
Meaning it's going to find it.
and to build on that, and I know this is a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I want to go down it because it's so interesting, or at least it is to me. When I started my own practice, right, I was looking for what do rich people do that people who don't that unrich people do, right? And I'm not talking about income. I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
net worth, right? Because
Right.
there's a big difference. You'll meet people who have a lot of income, but they don't have any money, right? And yet, you see these rich people that have money. So I was looking for kind of three common denominators, and I came up with three. Well, I'm not going to give you kind of the story how I ended up with three, but I ended up with three, and it was have a plan, be diversified, seek counsel. Those are the three. Okay, now. When you think about have a plan, a person who's rich almost always has a plan for everything they do. They know kind of here's where I'm at, here's where I'm going, even if it's not a 40-page PDF, but they can really clearly define it. Okay. And the poor person or the person with little assets, they just wing everything, right? The second one's diversification, but rich people, they diversify everything. They diversify their income. They diversify their assets across different asset classes. They diversify their tax liability. I mean, that's just when they get into retirement, it's not uncommon for them to have two or three income streams, right? Or four, right? That's just the normal, they almost do it like subconsciously, right? It's just normal process for them. And then and then the third one is seek counsel. Now, the seeking counsel is literally the hardest of the three. When I came up with them, the first two were easy to write because if you sat down with 10 financial advisors, nine of us are going to be identical in the first two. Have a plan, be diversified. There's no debate. It's pretty objective, right? I
Mm.
mean, so if you sat down with me and sat down with not three other financial advisors, they're all going to say almost to the person using even similar language what I would say. Okay. The only difference between me and another advisor on those first two will be order. So I will say, I think you need to change. I think you need to do this first versus this. And another advisor say you need to do this. But for general order, the seek advice part, and this does go to the AI thing, is that's the hardest of all, right? Because that means you have to have a pretty high confidence. I don't mean egotistical. You have to be willing to take input and be humbled, right?
Right.
Where people with really strong egos, AI tells them stuff they don't necessarily want to hear, or they'll ask AI enough times where AI will agree with them, and they don't realize that, right? So it's kind of one or the other. So how do you kind of battle that? That's the biggest challenge. Like I use AI a lot, right? I mean, so I'm a big AI person, and like I'm driving my Tesla, I'll ask Grok about this or about that, right? But I've always asked lots of questions. I'm really curious, right? So I do notice a lot of other people are much less curious about
Mm.
asking the hard questions. Like, and then I'll finish with this one comment on your thing. A good example is like if you're running a small business, they don't realize that AI will give them a expert level analysis from a
Right.
CFA on their finances.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, you could go in there and say, act as though you're the CFA or you're one of the number one venture capital firms in the country. What would you, if you looked at my business books, you don't have to put all your detail in there. You can just put the four or five main numbers, right? Revenue, earnings. That so you don't have to put your name or anything. You just put kind of high. They don't realize that AI can come back and give them like two or three things to focus on.
The only caution I would offer in that scenario is remember AI uses data and information that is uploaded to it, training, right? It's trained on data. It's trained not only the data that was the original data set it used, which was cut off, I think, in 2022. So all that information that was on the internet first, but since then you've had 152 million people interacting with it. So when it draws and creates answers and creates advice, it's tapping into all that advice. So getting expert level from a CFA level advice means it's tapping into all the advice that has been inputted from other CFAs or what AI believes is a CFA when it's creating that answer for you. I say that to be cautious of what is you'll commonly start to see is beware of average in that AI is taking all the information, consolidating it, and coming up with an answer, right? Based on everything it's looking at. Basically, it's averaging the answers to give you an answer. So you have to be
Oh, good
careful in
point.
what you're asking it. So if you're going to want a expert level CFA advice, you need to be very clear about what a CFA at the expert level is, and more importantly, is not. So it only looks in one part of the lake, in that one cove where the CFA experts sit to get that information.
That's great
Otherwise,
advice.
you're going to get everybody's information to include what we used to call a barracks lawyer, or we'd call a barracks financial advisor, somebody that reads lots of books and knows everything, will say, well, this is what I think, when they have no training whatsoever. They just have what, Uncle Joe told them way back when, and they think that's correct. Versus someone like yourself who's been through the training and the certifications and has the experience to give solid advice is the difference. So you have to be very careful with that. Does that make
And,
sense?
100%. And I think the difference for me personally, that's really good advice for people listening to this and understanding it. Because for me personally, one of the things that I see people who are really successful, when they ask for input, they're not actually asking for your advice. But people misunderstand this. Okay. So when someone who's successful, and once I say this, you'll see it over and over again with people, they'll ask a question, but it'll almost sound like a conversation. It'll sound like a curious, like, how'd you get into AI? They'll ask kind of, okay, well, you know, where are you? I mean, just weird questions that they're asking you. Well, what did you do in the Marine Corps, and was AI part of that, and all that kind of stuff, right? You don't realize that what they're doing is gathering information to
Right.
make some decision, right? And they don't care about what you say. I think one of the reasons people who struggle when they ask for advice, they think they need to do something with it. So they think because someone said something, they either need to, say no, they need to say yes, they need to give some feedback, they need to give them credit. People who are successful, they have no desire or need to give anyone credit or desire or anything. They just take the information and then they'll talk to 10 people. And next thing you know, they'll make a decision. And then you say, well, where'd you get that answer? They'll say, I have no idea. But in reality, they don't. I mean, it's not like
Mhm.
one person gave them the advice.
Right.
It's this group of people and they do it for so many times over the course of years that they're really good at it. That's how I use AI, right? So AI doesn't give me what I would call answers. It doesn't give me answers. It gives me points to consider.
Right. Yeah. No, so let me ask this question. Do you use multiple AI platforms
Yes,
and bounce their answers against each other?
100%. I
There
copy
you
and
go.
paste whole answers from one group to another, and
So
I
tell me
tell
what
them,
you think about this.
I got this from
Right?
this. Where'd this come from?
What's
I
wrong with
mean,
this analysis? What did they miss? I do the same thing.
yeah,
So it goes back
exactly.
to your point. You're asking not 10 people, you're asking 10 million people because you're bouncing it between different AI platforms.
But then I still value a person's opinion, right?
Mhm.
So I still value yours like AI, right? So I listen to YouTube all the time and listen to, individuals. So AI is not like what I would call the answer. It's just one of 10 places and depending on how
Mhm.
important the decision is, right? So if it's a really big decision, I might gather information from 6, 7, 8 people or until I get comfortable. If it's a small one, I might just do two or three. But I include all.
And the one concept you mentioned in the conversation we just had was decision. At the end of the day, a human has to make a decision because the human is accountable for whatever action they may take, despite what AI told them to do. Nobody gets to wear the T-shirt I wore as a 3-year-old and say AI made me do it. Then it was the devil made me do it because I was a tyrant. But hey, we'll talk about that a different day. But we don't get to say that. That's one of the reasons we go back to accountability in an organization. Who owns AI in your company? Who are
That's
you
so
going to
good.
touch when AI does something wrong? Not to fire them, but to fix AI. If AI is doing something wrong, somebody has to turn it off, fix it, so it can get back to doing what it does. So if you haven't set up the guardrails, the infrastructure, the policies, AI will do whatever it is. And when it's doing things that are not correct, not in compliance, not in alignment with your goals and strategies and objectives, then who do you call to stop it, to turn
That's
it
a
off?
great, I think that's a great place to finish because we're over a few minutes. So
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this conversation. So how do people get a hold of you and get on, like the voodoo
AI
class,
voodoo.
come downtown? So I definitely want to give them that. But even if they listen to this past whatever date you were having, more just go on Eventbrite and find when the next class is, right? So
Mhm.
if they're listening to this in 3 months,
The best way to connect with me and follow what and LinkedIn is the platform I choose to use. So just connect with me, Randall Mauldin, on LinkedIn at Randall Mauldin, however they do it. But then you'll see me there, and just connect with me there. I accept most friend requests unless it's somebody that's obviously AI. No, but then I'll talk with them, send a message there. Other than that, go to our website, scalehound.ai, and you'll see more about our company there. And then, of course, I have a website, randallmauldin.com. That's my speaking site. If somebody wants to have a conversation, or bring me to a conference or something like that, then that's a way to understand how I talk about AI, and it can help an organization. It's mainly about bringing truth to the conversation, get away from the fluff, get away from the shiny tools. Let's talk about accountability, and that AI is doing things and you need to be accountable for that. And if you're not sure what AI is doing, you need to stop and understand it, and then you can use it. And so
and
that's
look
it.
at both sides of it. It goes to
Look
the
at all of it.
what's the positive side, what's the negative side. Then you can make a conscious, thoughtful decision about how you're going to leverage it.
Correct. Absolutely.
So that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Randy. I really appreciated the
Yeah.
conversation.
I appreciate it, Tim. This was a fun conversation. I liked it. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
So
Thanks.